In this video, we are going to learn about static friction, limiting friction, and kinetic friction. Suppose a body is put on the surface of another body and its mass is m, then mg is the weight which is acting downwards, and then this body, suppose it is a h, applying a force mg on this body, say which is b, then due to Newton's third law of motion and opposite and equal force would be applied on body A by body B. So weight is acting downwards, mg, and a normal reaction is acting upwards, which is called R. So normal reaction is R, and it is calculated using Newton's third law of motion. So for this we will first find out how much force is body A applying on body B, and then same force would be applied on body A by body B. Now let's say we apply a force P on this body, and due to friction this body does not move. So we are applying a force P in right direction, and the force of friction F would be acting in left direction to balance this force, since this body is not moving. So unless and until body start moving, the net force should be 0, which implies that the force of friction is equal to applied force unless the applied force is so much that body starts moving. So if applied force is small and body is not moving, then force of friction is always equal to the applied force, and this force of friction when the body is not moving is called static friction, and it is equal to the applied force. So what is static friction? It is defined as the opposing force that comes into play when one body tends to move over the surface of another, but the actual motion has not yet started. So the static friction is defined as opposing force that comes into play when one body tends to move over the surface of another, but the actual motion has not yet started. It's called static friction. So as we will increase the applied force, the friction will increase to balance this force until the body start moving. If we increase the applied force, then the force of friction, then the force of static friction would also increase the same amount to balance this force until the body starts moving. Limiting friction as the maximum opposing force that comes into play when one body is just at the verge of moving over the surface of other body. So if we increase the applied force more than the limiting friction, then body will start moving, and when the body is moving, then the force of friction is called kinetic friction. So kinetic friction or dynamic friction is the opposing force that comes into play when one body is actually moving over the surface of another body. Now, one point to be noted, that kinetic friction is less than limiting friction. This is because once the body has started moving, the inertia of rest has been overcome. And if the body is actually moving over the surface of another body, then irregularities of one surface will have little time to get interlocked into the irregularities of other surface. And so if body is moving, irregularities will have little time to get interlocked.